UFC Fight Night 172, Kattar versus Ige takes place on Wednesday in the middle of the week. It's not the most stacked card in the world, however, it is a nice little bonus card in the middle of the week. We recently lost Frankie Edgar versus Pedro Munoz from the co-main event slot, but still an amazing bonus card to get us through the week of MMA. Kattar versus Ige as a main event, amazing. I'm going to be going through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, ending with the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for every single fight on the card, starting with our early prelim opener of George Gonzalez or Jorge Gonzalez, who knows, another Jorge going on. Kenneth Burke, who's a Norwegian guy, undefeated 8-0, lost an exhibition match on The Ultimate Fighter to Eric Spicely, got submitted there. No hard feelings, Eric Spicely's a veteran of the UFC and it was a while ago when he was a little bit younger. George Gonzalez or Jorge Gonzalez is the best heavyweight out of Mexico right now, the #1 heavyweight. I think I'm going to be going with the experience of Jorge Gonzalez. I think he's going to get a jump on Kenneth Burr. He is a heavyweight coming down to light heavyweight as well, and he isn't even a big guy for heavyweight, so maybe this is going to be a reawakening of his career because he's been dishing out damage to heavyweights, even though he's only 6 foot tall and not the biggest guy in the world. So him coming down to light heavyweight, I think is going to be a nice little break for him. Maybe he'll take on some guys his own size for once, including Kenneth Burr, who although is 8-0, has not really fought anyone of much value whatsoever. And even though Jorge Gonzalez has lost 4 fights, that is experience. He's 16-4. He's got the experience advantage. I think he's going to get a jump on Kenneth Burr. Moving on. Jack Shaw versus Aaron Phillips. I am so excited for this matchup. I've been waiting to see Jack Shaw for such a long time. And it's been taken from me so many times recently. He was supposed to be fighting Anderson dos Santos. Then he was supposed to be fighting Geraldo de Freitas Jr. before that, and that one got cancelled as well. Before that, he fought Nohelin Hernandez, who was a guy who actually did quite well against Marlon Vera on short notice in his UFC debut, and Jack Shaw just completely dominated him. I think Nohelin Hernandez landed about 2 strikes over 2 rounds. Or 3 rounds, sorry. He got the submission in the 3rd round, so even then, longer in the fight, so only be landing a few strikes. I mean, Jack Shaw completely shut him down. Nohelin Hernandez had some success in that fight, don't get me wrong, but in the 1st round, I'm pretty sure he didn't even land anything. Jack Shaw just completely neutralized him. He's got great grappling. If you look at his resume, I can't get enough of it because I feel like this is one of those new guys that's going to be breaking onto the scene recently in MMA. I think this wave of people are going to start coming where the amateur experience is there. And Jack Shaw has the amateur experience. He started when he was very young. He's still only 25 years of age and turned that in February, so he's still got about 7 months or so of being 25. He's improving every single time he goes out there by the looks of things. He's fought great opponents over at Cage Warriors. He was the Bantamweight Cage Warriors World Champion, defended it as well against Scott Malone, who was 6-1. Mike Ekendeo Airlines, who's 7-0. He's a great fighter as well. Trains with Nathaniel Wood in a GB top team in London. Great opponents, Jack Shaw, plus the amateur experience as well. I'm pretty sure he's got about how many amateur fights? 12? 12-0 as an amateur. Now he's 12-0 as a pro. That's basically 24-0 if you ask me. I think Jack Shaw's going to get it done. His opponent is quite a test. A decent fighter. Used to be in the UFC. Lost both of his fights in the UFC. Got cut from the UFC but has built his way back. So he's obviously going to be very hungry. I just feel as though Jack Shaw will have in a full camp compared to this guy jumping in on short notice. I could see Jack Shaw just going in there and getting an easy submission in the first 2 rounds. I expect that to happen. Jack Shaw by submission in the first 2 rounds, probably rear naked choke because he likes to go for it so much. Moving on, Diana Belbita versus Liana Juja. Let's get through a couple of these shitters. Both of them terrible. Both of them protected careers, especially Diana Belbita. She has beaten no one of credit pretty much. She's fought some decent girls who are like 4-1 or something, but the majority of her fighters that she's taken on have been 0-0, and she looks quite good, so I'm assuming that's why they've babied her so much in her career. But still, Liana Juja is not... I'm just finding any way of pronouncing her name at this point. Juja, I guess we're going to go with... I don't know why I want that J to be silent, but that J is silent, god damn it. I think she's going to lose to Diana Belbita. Liana Juja, I mean... She hasn't beaten anyone. She lost to Sarah Moras. It wasn't the best performance in the world. I didn't see anything special in her. She's got the reach disadvantage. She's got the size disadvantage as well. Diana Belbita has more experience. I'm just going to go with that because neither of them are any good whatsoever and probably shouldn't be in the UFC, but still, they're in the UFC. Experience, size, reach tends to come in quite handy. Diana Belbita's going to get the job done despite her incredibly padded record. And Liana Juja's going to lose. Don't know why I'm pronouncing a J that way. Moving on. Jared Gordon, or Jared Gordon as I'm now pronouncing my J's. Chris Fishgold as well. Great matchup. Chris Fishgold was an absolute monster coming into the UFC. A lot of people forget about Chris Fishgold's history. He came into the UFC, lost a couple of fights, lost to Calvin Kattar in his first ever loss, but before that he was 16-1. Not first ever one, but you know. First ever real loss. He lost a fight way back in the day to a guy who was 3-2 by unanimous decision, actually called G Bum Moon. His name is Guy Bum Moon. That's the guy who gave Chris Fishgold his first loss. But either way, 16-1 before that, comes into the UFC, suffers his first loss to Calvin Kattar, then beats Daniel Tamer, which is always a decent win. Daniel Tamer is not... I mean, the Tamer brothers, although they might not be very highly ranked, they're definitely very technical and skilled, but still. Then he loses to McCann, which, again, no harm done. It's McCann. It's not the best loss in the world, because McCann has lost to some other better guys, so you kind of find out where you are in the division, losing to a guy like McCann, but still... Lost to him, was doing okay before that, somewhat decently to be fair to him, but since then, hasn't really fought anyone, was scheduled against Mark Jacasey, was scheduled against Billy Quarantillo. I think he's actually going to go out there and lose to Jared Gordon. Actually, I think he's going to beat Jared Gordon, sorry. I don't think Jared Gordon's going to win. I'm not impressed by Jared Gordon whatsoever. I just remembered who fucking Jared Gordon was. And it reminded me definitely not to pick this guy, because I watched him against Charles Oliveira and it just looked like... I don't know how he got the record he did, but he's beaten some decent guys. 10-5, 8-2, 20-10, not the best in the world. 8-1 guy, 23-5. These are decent wins. But then you look at his loss to Diego Ferreira, which isn't a bad loss. But then Joaquim Silva, that's a second TKO loss in the space of 2 years. Then he loses again by TKO to Charles Oliveira in the first round. I actually think Fishgold's going to go out there and crack him in the first round and get the job done. Even though Fishgold is not the most powerful guy in the world, I'm going to bet on Fishgold going out there, getting scrappy, getting hungry. Still 28 years of age. I think he goes out there and tags Jared Gordon and gets him out of there in the first round. He has a lot of finishes in the first round, usually by submission, some by punches as well. He's a savage. I think he's going to go out there and actually crack Jared Gordon. I've seen him KO'd way too many times over the past 2 years. 3 times now out of 4 fights. He's been KO'd. I'm not betting on that chin. Chris Fishgold gets it done. Not to mention he's the shorter guy with the same reach. That tends to come into factor quite a bit. I'm going with Chris Fishgold. Modestas Bukauskas versus Andreas Micheladis. Micheladis is a Greek man. I like this guy. He's beaten a lot of good guys. He's named himself the Spartan, even though he's from Athens. Should probably have called himself the Athenian, but then again, they didn't make a film called 300 Athenians, so there's no clout to be had from that. So he's going with the Spartan, even though he's not from Sparta. But Greece, I will give him that. There's no other Greek fighters as far as I'm aware, so we'll give him that. He can be a Spartan if he wants, even though he's from pussy old Athens. That's okay. Sorry to come at Athens like that. I don't know why I did. It's actually a pretty nice place. I've never been, but... Fuck Athens. I don't give a fuck, actually. Andreas Micheladis, though, is a great fighter. Fought a lot of decent opponents. Lost to some guys as well, but then again, so does Modestas Bukauskas. These fucking names are going to get me absolutely fucking furious. I hope they get shorter and shorter as this fight card goes on, but still, I'm going to be going with Andreas Micheladis. Older guy. Same size between the pair of them. Modestas Bukauskas is pretty good, but he hasn't really beaten anyone that good. Neither is Andreas Micheladis. I'm going to go with Andreas Micheladis. I think he gets the job done. He's fought slightly better opponents. He's a scrapper. I think he gets it done. Modestas Bukauskas has lost to some sus people as well. I think he lost to a guy who was like 5-11 or something at one point in his career, which I'm not a fan of. So I'll go with Andreas Micheladis. I think he'll get the job done. More seasoned, more experience, fought better competition. He gets it done. Ricardo Ramos versus Lerone Murphy. I need to stop saying gets it done. Ramos versus Murphy. Great fight. Murphy coming off a close draw to Zubaira Tukhugov. We got to speed this shit up. Murphy coming off a close draw to Zubaira Tukhugov. Great fight. I don't think it was a draw. I think it was 2-1 in favour of Zubaira Tukhugov. And not to mention, I think he had something wrong with him in that fight because he didn't look like himself whatsoever. I'm pretty sure he had something wrong with him in that fight, but Lerone Murphy's a very good fighter. Fought some decent guys. I just think Ramos at featherweight is a real threat. He came in at the featherweight division after a bit of a career at bantamweight, fought some decent guys, lost to other guys like Said Nurmagomedov. No harm done. Member of the Nurmagomedov family gets you. Oh well, I think it was a spinning back kick to the stomach as well that got it done. That can happen in someone's career. Ricardo Ramos, the younger guy, 25 years of age. I mean, Lerone Murphy's got a bit of a reach advantage, but Ricardo Ramos has got the experience. Moving up to featherweight, came in and beat Luis Eduardo Grigori, who was undefeated at the time. moving into the featherweight division. That was his featherweight debut, and Ramos just got the job done and made it look easy. I think he's more variant. He can do it in a multitude of different ways, and I think that's going to be his advantage over Murphy. Ramos gets it done by submission. I'll say rear naked choke in the second round. Ramos gets it done. Moving on, John Phillips versus Khamzat Chimaev. I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev. I like John Phillips, but he is not good. And if he wins, he can just be a meme of the division. But, you know, Khamzat Chimaev is a welterweight coming up on short notice for a middleweight debut. 6-0. Actually fought some decent guys. He's 6-0, but he's beaten guys who are 8-0, 7-1. Some decent records to already have at 6-0. Clearly, he's not being babied or having a padded career. So I'll give this one to him by short notice KO. I think he gets it done. He's the younger guy. He's the bigger guy and rangier guy as well. I think he gets it done over John Phillips. John Phillips is tough. Never really been TKO'd in his career. He got TKO lost once, but that was due to a cut over his eye at one point, if I remember correctly. But Khamzat Chimaev, I'm betting on him. I think he'll get it done. I really do. He's a dangerous striker. He KOs a lot of guys in that first round in a massive flurry. He's got ridiculous speed. Being a welterweight coming up as well, he's going to have even more speed. And maybe he finds a home for himself at middleweight, who knows, and goes down the Kevin Holland route of being able to jump between the divisions. I'm going to go with Chimaev on short notice. John Phillips is not good, because sometimes he gets a KO, and then sometimes he shows up like he did against Jack Marshman, which was just embarrassing. I'm going to go with Khamzat Chimaev. Getting the job done. Moving on to the main card. Abdulrazak Al-Hassan versus Micheladis. Micheladis is not a bad opponent, but I am not going to be betting against Abdulrazak Al-Hassan, coming off a bit of a... Someone was pressing charges against him for some kind of thing. I'm not going to say the word, because that's a great keyword to get me demonetized, but I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. He's been proven innocent, I believe. Fingers crossed. It's a terrible crime to be convicted of, but still... He's been proven innocent. He's gotten out of it. He hasn't fought in a long time. I think it's going to be all this pent-up rage, and he's going to take it out on Micheladis, who has beaten some decent opponents, but then again, his best opponents that he's fought is 4-0. Those are good opponents, but compare that to Abdulrazak Al-Hassan, who's KOing guys like Nico Price, has great wins in his career, great KO highlights all throughout his career as well. Beat Sabahu Marti twice for good measure. He's just fought better opponents. I'm going to be going with Abdulrazak Al-Hassan. Micheladis is good. He's fought recently, at least compared to Abdulrazak, but fought a guy who was 10-9 to get into the UFC. I just think Abdulrazak Al-Hassan just destroys him and gets him out of there in the first round by KO. Moving on, Molly McCann versus Taylor Santos. Taylor Santos has a ridiculously padded record. I'm calling it out. 15-1, 27 years of age. Her record is so fucking padded. I mean, we're talking Giga Chikadze levels of padded record here. It is an absolute disgrace how many debutantes, 0-1s, 0-2 she's taken on in her career. That is one of the most padded records I've seen in a very long time. I'm definitely going to be going with Molly McCann. I think she gets it done. Molly McCann is a scrapper, a great fighter, a tough girl. Actually goes in there and fights. She beat a girl like Oriana Lipsky, Priscilla Capoeira as well. Lost to Gillian Robertson, but then again, Gillian Robertson just beat Courtney Casey. Courtney Casey beat Mara Romero Barella by submission. Mara Romero Barella beats this girl, Taylor Santos, by submission, by split decision, sorry. I just think it's a bit of a food chain thing, and the first real opponent of Taylor Santos' career, other than the one that got her into the UFC on the Contender Series, beat her. So, I'm going to be going with Molly McCann. She gets it done. She's a scrapper. She's a great fighter. I think she gets it done. She's tough. She's going to stick it on Taylor Santos and remind her that Molly McCann is not 0-2. 3-2. Actually, Taylor Santos hasn't got too bad of a padded record. I'm thinking of someone else. But she does have some sus wins. 14-14, 16-10. You know, when these girls are around, these veteran girls, she's beaten some decent opponents, don't get me wrong. I'm just going to be going with Molly McCann. This isn't that bad of a record. I don't know why I teed off on her record so badly, but still, 1-7 girl, 2-0, 2-1. Molly McCann might have a... I still think Molly McCann wins, though. Just off of watching her fight with Mara Romero Barella. I'm looking at Chris Fishgold's record. Where's Taylor Santos' record? This is... No, I take everything back. She's got the most padded record. What a fucking roller coaster this prediction video has been so far. 0-0, 0-0, 0-1, 1-3, 2-1, 0-1, 0-1, 1-0. Like, these fucking girls. 0-0, 0-0, 0-1, 0-0, 3-1, 0-1, 0-1. Absolutely an embarrassment of a record. Taylor Santos, I take everything back from what I took already back. I'm giving it all back again after taking it away in the first place. What a disgrace. She's going to lose to Molly McCann. I was looking at Chris Fishgold's record thinking, oh my god, this girl actually beat some savages. And men. Then I realised. Moving on. Jimmy Rivera versus Cody Stamann. I think Jimmy Rivera wins. Shorter guy, reach advantage, hard to get on the inside of, great takedown defense. Cody Stamann, I mean, other than some of the losses Jimmy Rivera has had, which you can't really blame him for. I mean, look at his losses. Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling, Marlon Moraes, beat the hell out of John Dodson, beat the hell out of Thomas Almeida, you know, beat the hell out of Uriah Faber, who beat Ricky Simone, who looked somewhat decent in the first round against Petr Yan. Beating everyone other than that. I think people are counting out Jimmy Rivera because of this hype of Cody Stamann that's come up recently, but Jimmy Rivera is a savage, and I think he's going to bounce back with a bang. He's had some time off since his last KO loss. Well, not his last KO loss, but his last damaging loss to Petr Yan. I think he's going to bounce back with a vengeance and get the job done over Cody Stamann. I like Cody Stamann. I just think that Brian Kelleher is this level, and you took him 3 rounds, and there's another level, and then there's Jimmy Rivera, and then there's a level above that, but still, Rivera's going to be a level above Cody Stamann in my opinion. This one should be the co-main event. I'm assuming it's actually the co-main event because it's a joke if it's not, because actually Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit is the main event. I don't even want to dignify that with a real prediction because it's taken the co-main event slot, which is a disgrace to the sport of MMA, but still, Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit is apparently the co-main event, even though I think it's Rivera versus Stamann. This might be a bug. I'm fairly certain it is. I just think Jimmy Rivera gets the job done against Cody Stamann. Cody Stamann is a great fighter, but again, you know, I don't think he's beaten anyone of real elite level status. I mean, he beat Song Yudong, which is a good win, but then again, I thought Marlon Vera beat Song Yudong, so that win has kind of lost some value because the more someone beats the guy that you lost to, it doesn't look so good, you know? And then when you look at Jimmy Rivera's losses, they've all gone on to become the top 3 of the division. One of them's fighting for the title, one of them should be fighting for the title, and the other one should be fighting for the title as well. I mean, I'm not going to be harping on Jimmy Rivera's losses. He's an absolute savage. I think he bounces back and gets the job done over Cody Stamann over 3 rounds by decision. Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit. Tim Elliott. Bigger guy. Think he gets it done. Ryan Benoit's trash. 10-6. Tim Elliott's trash as well. Tim Elliott's been more active. I think Tim Elliott gets it done. I think Tim Elliott's probably made more money in show money than anyone's win bonuses recently, the amount of times that he's been showing up to lose. Just lost to Brandon Royval, but Royval looked pretty good, and Tim Elliott was doing good before that as well. Got a fight of the night bonus for some fucking bizarre reason as well. Stole that from Quarantillo versus Spike Carlisle, but they gave it to Tim Elliott. He's cashing in. I think he's going to actually get the job done against Ryan Benoit, though. Ryan Benoit's trash. Decent opponent, but just not the level of Tim Elliott, in my opinion. Elliott's pretty good. So, I'll go with Tim Elliott by submission. Moving on. Calvin Kattar versus Dan Ige. Jesus, a real fight. Kattar's going to win. Dan Ige's got some decent wins, but they don't compare to Kattar's in terms of Jeremy Stephens, you know, who holds a win over Josh Emmett. Like, Calvin Kattar's wins do look good. As soon as you beat Jeremy Stephens, not to mention probably beat Jeremy Stephens, even though losing the first round, more dominantly like than Yair Rodriguez. I mean, Yair Rodriguez didn't finish him and was losing the 3rd round. Zabit Magomedsharipov didn't finish Stephens and was losing the 3rd round. I mean, there's a point to be made there. Jeremy Stephens is a decent fighter. KO'd Josh Emmett, as I said. Like, Calvin Kattar has been on a run, was looking like he was going to win against Zabit Magomedsharipov, and I was actually looking like he was coming on stronger in the 4th and 5th round now. That could be just because Zabit gets so tired, because Dan Ige is also a guy with good pacing, but I don't think it's fair to say after watching Zabit versus Kattar that Kattar is going to slow down at all. I don't think that makes any sense. I think Calvin Kattar goes out there, puts hands on Dan Ige, probably loses the 1st round, but when he covers up, he's watching the entire time. Calvin Kattar's got a slick jab. I think he watches the entire 1st round. Dan Ige throws a lot of volume, probably wins himself the 1st round, but then eventually walks into a massive shot from Calvin Kattar, getting the job done. Dan Ige's a great opponent. Don't think he won against Edson Barboza. Thought he lost that one 2 rounds to 1 pretty clearly, but won the 3rd round, which again shows great cardio, and if that was a 5-rounder, we'll see what happens with Edson Barboza. But then again, Edson Barboza in any 5-rounder is never a good idea because of how explosive he is. He can't go 5 rounds. Ige beat Bektic. Another great win. Good wins. Masad Bektic, is he the same anymore? Got KO'd by a jab from Josh Emmett, and Dan Ige took him 3 rounds, so I don't really see Dan Ige finishing Calvin Kattar. He's got a good submission game that maybe he could implement, but he took Kevin Aguilar to a decision. Charles Rosa just beat Kevin Aguilar. You know, like, I mean, I don't know. Danny Henry, decent. Don't get me wrong, Danny Ige, but, you know, you beat Jordan Griffin. Yusuf Zalal just beat Jordan Griffin. Like, when I look at some of Calvin Kattar's wins in the division, I'm looking at Andre Fili. I'm looking at Chris Fishgold, who's fighting this weekend. If he wins this one, he'll be back in the mix, because he's 18-3, he'll be 19-3. Renato Moicano lost to him. Didn't look too bad, but lost to him. Addressed a problem with the leg kicks. Beat Shane Burgos, who just went tooth and nail with Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett won, but Burgos at least showed that he's somewhere near that level in the rankings. Still relevant in the featherweight division. Kattar beat Shane Burgos. Then Kattar goes out there, beats Lamas. Lamas is fighting Ryan Hall. I think Lamas is going to beat Ryan Hall. Zabit Magomedsharipov, number 2 in the division, for retarded reasons, but still number 2. He should be number 4, but number 2. Calvin Kattar's wins just look really good to me. I think he's got great hands. I think Ige doesn't have the power to knock him out. We've seen great takedown defense in Calvin Kattar's fights as well. He's got the experience factor. He's got the power as well. I think Kattar by TKO round 2 is a great prediction in any of his fights if he doesn't get it done in the first round. I think he's going to lose the first round. Ige's going to put volume on him. And then Kattar's going to come through with a 1-2, catching Ige. If Ige needs to move around, he can't move straight backwards, because if he moves straight backwards, Kattar's going to land the 1-2 all day. If he starts mixing it in by moving around Kattar and changing levels a couple times, maybe he can have some success, but I'm just not willing to bet against Calvin Kattar right now. I think he can hang with the top of the division. I like his chances versus any of them, especially as a beat in a 5-rounder. I think he would beat him. So I'm going with Calvin Kattar. But this is a dangerous fight. Watch out for Dan Ige. Underrated grappling, 14-2. Even though he lost to Edson Barboza, still a close fight, showing that he's at least on the level of Barboza. I'm just going with Calvin Kattar, getting it done. Like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Click that button there. And goodbye. I'll be streaming this event live, doing a fight companion as well, so tune in. See you later.